So on to these suspicions now then, that the UK is seeking to sort of rejoin the EU by the back door. The UK hosts its first EU summit since Brexit today, as the Prime Minister attempts to reset relations, paving the way for a wider agreement with Brussels. Now, Sir Keir Starmer says that today's expected deal with the European Union would be a win for jobs and bills and borders.
But many, including several of today's papers, as you can see, think it's a betrayal of the Brexit vote and a step closer to the UK joining the EU. Well, political commentator and former MEP Annunziata Rees Mogg says the UK should not surrender to the European Union, while political writer and activist Femi Oluwole says the democratic licence for Brexit has expired. Femi, the country voted to leave the EU. How on earth is this government going to take us back in?
So, we can debate another time whether or not it was democratic to have a referendum on our relationship with the EU before people could actually see what that relationship would be. And then once the Brexit deal was negotiated and everybody, including Brexit supporters, hated it, refusing to let people vote on it.
That's not true.
But you will lose that debate.
Hang on, you lost the vote, Femi, back in 2016.
Yeah.
And now it looks like the government is going to take us into a closer alliance with the organisation we came out of.
Let me be absolutely clear. I do not care about betraying a Brexit vote from 10 years ago.
You don't care about democracy?
You know why? Because I care a hell of a lot more about the record levels of people that are currently in poverty than I care about the wishes from 10 years ago of people, many of whom are dead. Right now, we have record. I mean, old people voted leave, young people voted remain
what about
on
the
ballot.
many new voters?
So I think it was about
who are turning to reform?
by about 18,
So
by about 2018.
if you'd won the vote, then, if you'd won the vote, would you be making the same point, that it no longer stood?
Old people voted leave, young people voted remain.
If you won the vote, would you be making the same argument that it doesn't stand after 10 years?
Yes.
Would you? I don't believe you.
Because right now...
What if many of those voters had died?
Right now, people are in poverty. The UK is facing a record cost of living crisis, and I care a lot more about that. I mean, the debate about whether or not Brexit is good or bad for working people, whether or not it's making us richer or poorer, that's over, because your lot have said it is making us poorer. Boris Johnson said it's that...
Well, let's let Annunziata say what she thinks.
That's quite simply not true. The only extent to which anyone is able to argue as making us poorer is by absolutely inaccurate Office of Budget Responsibility forecasts and then trying to deduct something that never happened in the first place.
What do you think's happening
that doesn't
today?
Work.
Susanna.
If we look at the cost of living across the Channel, one of the newspapers today, one for which you write, Femi, says we'll save money on beef purchases.
Susanna,
hang on, Femi, let Annunziata speak.
In France and most of the other European countries, beef is 50% more expensive than here.
Right.
It is not a saving. Aligning us with the EU would cost us more.
So what are you worried about? What are you worried about today
Susanna,
with this
is a real
deal?
problem.
Today, I'm worried about us paying in order to be able to tender for defence. I'm worried about freedom of movement, just as Keir Starmer gives the big rhetoric on immigration. He's turning around and letting people in by the back door. Huge unemployment problems with the young in the EU
Do you
that will want to come here.
Do you think that it's a sneaky attempt to get back into Europe?
Absolutely.
OK,
So
Femi.
it's a two-faced thing.
I'm just really worried because right now there's somebody on your programme who supported one of the most economically damaging policies in UK history. In fact, she even supported no-deal Brexit, saying it would save £80 billion a year. I mean, we can all see the damage Brexit has already done, and they're giving economic advice on national television.
You can't
I
see
just want you to know that that's happening on your show.
OK, but
just
Femi,
don't know.
but you've got to respect Annunziata's opinion.
On economics?
And she speaks
on economics,
for many...
She said no-deal Brexit would save us £80 billion a year. There is no major economy on the planet...
I just want to point out, that the majority so far of the viewers who have got in touch with us agree with Annunziata. So, Femi, you can keep saying my name, but I need to make the point that Annunziata is making a view heard, or trying to, which a lot of people who voted for Brexit agree with.
By 45
and the people who have got in touch with us this morning have not died. They are still living voters who feel that their democratic decision is now being overturned.
By 45 to 9, Brexit voters believe that Brexit has made us poorer. As for no-deal Brexit, which was supported by you, there is no major economy on the planet that has no trade deal with its closest neighbours, which means she supported doing something that every successful economy on the planet...
You don't need to talk about Annunziata in the third person,
which means
she's right in front of you.
You can talk to me, but you can also let me speak.
You supported something.
OK, now let Annunziata...
You supported... Let me finish my point, please. You supported something that every successful economy on the planet has chosen specifically not to do.
17.4 million people voted for Brexit. At the last election, only 9.7 million people voted for the Labour Party. But the Labour Party did that on a platform that they would not take us back into the EU. They would not take us, they would not give freedom of movement, they would not take us back into the single market. It looks like they are doing both of these things behind voters' wishes.
Brutally honest, do you think that actually, whatever you think of the rights and wrongs of it, do you think that the Prime Minister is sneakily trying to get us back into the EU by the back door?
I would say that right now, every single party that supported Brexit says that Brexit is making us poor. The Reform Party has said that Brexit is making us poor. Nigel Farage says we haven't...
You've made that point so many times.
No, you challenged it, so I'm pushing back.
Nigel has absolutely clarified that.
Can I finish the point, please?
Well, I'd rather you answer my question. Femi, do you think that the Prime Minister today is attempting to get back into the EU by the back door?
Rishi Sunak says Brexit has damaged our exports. Rishi Sunak says Brexit has damaged our exports. Boris Johnson says it's damaged our trade. The Reform Party says that it's making us poor, and that if they were in power, they'd go for a no-deal Brexit, which the Reform Party themselves say would damage our food supply for the next 20 years.
Is there any chance you could possibly answer the question? Do you think that tactically what we're seeing today is an attempt to get back into the EU by the back door?
Given that the majority of people would like to be back in the EU, yes, I would like to move in that direction. Ultimately, this is making us poor. And anybody watching this cares a hell of a lot more about the cost of living crisis than the political squabbles in Westminster.
Yeah, Annunziata?
Well, it seems like the debate has been closed down. A lot of incorrect facts. And let's face it, the democratic vote is on the side remaining out.
Is it... OK, Annunziata, is this a land grab for Reform votes? Those Labour Party voters...
It will hand votes to Reform, and particularly amongst the young.
OK, thank you both.
Thank you.
Very much indeed.